Good afternoon. I'd like to begin by thanking you for inviting me to come over this afternoon and to associate myself with this enormously important project which has just been presented to you. But I'd like to preface my comments by a few more mundane comments. The first is of a personal nature. I'm not a doctor. I'm a simple mister, and very proud of being a mister. So please don't give me a title which I do not bear. Secondly, I'd like to acknowledge the presence here in this audience of a great authority in the field of international law, an Israeli Prize laureate, a professor of international law at the Hebrew University, Professor Ruth Lapidot, who amongst her many other activities in years gone by was the legal advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and who was involved in many an effort over the last many years, spearheading some of the most important activities in the field that we will be discussing here. And I'd also like to... Pardon? Toda lach. I remember she began as an assistant in the law faculty at the Hebrew University when I was studying law, and she made it and I didn't. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence here of former Supreme Court Judge Gabriel Bach, who was also, amongst his many other sins, was also the state attorney for many years, if I'm not mistaken, and a very eminent figure in the legal profession in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel I've come full circle. Around 54 years ago, just around this time, I was sitting on the train traveling from Prague to Moscow at the height of the Cold War, in the task and in the position of the president of the National Union of Israeli Students. And I was traveling to Moscow to make the case for Israel at a very offensive and a very unfriendly group of people who were meeting in Moscow under the aegis of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, the CPSU. We were then at the height of the Cold War, and Israel was still a country less than 10 years old, and it was a very uphill battle. And the three of us, we were three students, we came to Moscow, and we were facing hundreds of people who were indoctrinated and who had nothing to say about Israel except slanderous statements of one type or another. As I look back over the last 54 years, and as I stand before you here this afternoon, I think the changes that have taken place on the international scene are as dramatic as drama could be. And having listened to the very able presentation which preceded me, I'd like to make one comment before I go on. Yes, we do face a lot of dangers and a lot of problems. But I would like to say to you today that I believe that Israel has never been stronger than it is today. And I'd also like to say to you that I believe that the Jewish people has never been stronger than it is today. And I think that the fact that you are meeting here with the World Jewish Congress, as you are, representing the Jewish communities of the world, bears testament to the fact that notwithstanding all the problems we have, and I'll refer to them in a moment, we are stronger than we have ever been, and we are more capable of achieving the results we need to achieve than ever before. And I'm not alluding only to the field of battle and of conflict, but also in many other fields in which we have excelled over the recent years. A year ago, at the President's Conference under the auspices of President Peres, who you listened to this morning, I met the group of young JDs at one of the intervals, and we discussed together this proposition, this idea, that it was essential that the problems of the 21st century in the field of international law be attacked in a novel way, that we could not any longer live under the situation in which the current law, the current international law, which is a law that has been created to deal with relations between nations, between states, is being used in a century where there are so many other actors, some of whom have been alluded to in this presentation, are not states by any yardstick, but they are very, very important and very key players on the international scene. I think that this and other things, other aspects, which I do not wish to detail at the moment, lead to one of two conclusions. And on this, I think there is disagreement in the Israel and in the international legal profession. The one school of thought says that what should be done today in this given situation is to try within the framework of existing international law to find the necessary remedies which would serve us wherever we are and which we could then use in order to fight off and reject the efforts of those to use lawfare in the way it's being used today. But there is a second school of thought, and the second school of thought is that the time has now come in the 21st century to recast international law, to make it a law which applies to the situation the way it is and not the way it was. Not the law of the 19th and 20th century, but the law of the 21st century. And in this, I think, lies a great challenge. And just as 54 years ago I felt at the time that this was an opportunity for the young people of the world who are now growing up in the 21st century and who have spent most of their lives or are going to spend most of their lives in the 21st century, as opposed to some of us here in the hall who spent most of our lives in the 20th century, an important century, but nevertheless a past century. This is a golden opportunity to do something which is different, which I think could have enormous effect, enormous impact, if it is done properly. And as the previous speaker pointed out, there's probably very few people who would dispute the fact that in the field of law, certainly the Jews have showed preeminence. So why can't the Jews spearhead an effort, together with others, non-Jews, many non-Jews, to change the character and to change the rules and change the fundamentals of international law in the field of conflict as we need them to be changed in the 21st century. I think this is the task, this is the challenge. And I think that there are many who are going to join in this challenge, individuals and others. Groups, institutions, like the Shalem Institute, of which Dr. Bagen is a leading figure, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, from whence I come today, and which is proud to be associated with this effort as well, and many other institutes around the world, like the Hoover Institute, which was mentioned today, maybe the Brookings Institute, institutes in London, in Paris, and elsewhere, to create a network of institutions and figures, young figures, people of the future, young and upcoming lawyers, young and upcoming professors, young and upcoming people with fresh thought, some of them who have seen battle on the field and who now are going to use their capabilities in order to harness their understanding and their brains to this task. And it's doable, and I'm sure you will do it. And I'd like to congratulate and compliment these young people for the effort they're making. I'll be happy to lend whatever I can in the months to come to this effort personally, and also with the institute that I am heading. But there'll be many others who will be joining this cause. And I hope that in a year or two from now, we will be able to stand up and say we've done something. We've done something significant. We're beginning to change the direction. We're going to change the legislation. We're going to change the conventions. We're going to change the way we think. We're going to think 21st century, not 20th and 19th century. For that, I wish to congratulate you, but congratulations is something which one should be aware of, one should accept, but consider it as a kind of an investment for the future. And you have to justify the congratulation. And I call upon you in the Congress to support this effort in every way you can, to encourage these young people, to strengthen them, to give them the means and the wherewithal to do what is necessary to be done. And I'm sure that under the leadership of Ambassador Lauder and with the help of my veteran friend Michael Snyder and his extremely able assistant Maram Stern and many others, key figures in this organization, you will do it. Thank you very much. Shana Tova.